Now, I want to demonstrate how can we add groups. So in order to do that, let us look at this data set. Okay, so let's say I'm interested in the length, the width. Then let us say we also want this petal length. Okay, so we want to group by species. First thing that we want to do is we are going to create our 3D scatter plot. So I'm going to come in here and say in this data set, what I want to do is I want to subset the first 3 columns. Okay, so as you can see, we now have this in the z-axis, then we have the length as well as the width and the y-axis. So what I want to do is I want to have different shapes based on the column of species. Okay, so in order to do that, remember that column, this one of species is not numeric. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to first convert based on the species type. We want to have a certain shape. Okay, so if you come in here and let us look at the structure of this data frame. Okay, so if you come in here and you look at species, so you can see we have 3 levels. So we can have different shapes based on these 3 levels. So let's see what do I mean. So let's say we are going to define our shapes and say 16, 17, then let's put 18. Okay, now we come in here and we set. Now what we want to do is we want to say s.numeric. So we want to convert this column, which is species, based on these shapes. Okay, so let's try to run this. As you can see, if you come here and say shapes and you run this, you are getting only 16, 17, and 18. So which means for the first species, so let me try to also find the structure so that we can understand this properly. So if I come in here and say the structure, so remember we had 3 levels, right? So for each level, we now have a different shape, which is 16, 17, and 18. Okay, so let's see how can this be useful. So if we come in here and say scatter plots, 3D, and remember that we are interested in the first 3 columns. What we want is we want the shapes of these points to change based on the value of shapes that we have passed in this new column that we have changed to be numeric. Okay, so that is exactly what we have done. As you can see, we have 16 and then we have 17 and 18 as the type of these points. As you can see, we have managed to change the shapes of these points by groups, and in this case the groups was what? The species. Okay, so we're gonna come later and just see how can you also add the legend so it becomes clear as to which point belong to which group of species.